In my case, it really wasn't about the money. Advertising agencies get nervous if they don't change it. If there's no need to change a thing, then why do you exist? That's what happens with shows. They start small, and then they get so expensive and top-heavy, they collapse under their own weight.
Dirty Jobs was more than just a show. It was a celebration of America's toughest, most overlooked careers. So why did this beloved series vanish from the airwaves after 8 successful seasons, leaving fans puzzled and disappointed? The cancellation wasn't just about fading ratings. It coincided with a dramatic shift in how audiences consume TV, changing the game for cable networks everywhere. What really happened behind the scenes may surprise even the most dedicated fans. The sudden end of a hit. Dirty Jobs was a cultural phenomenon when it debuted in 2005, quickly becoming one of the Discovery Channel's most popular shows. For 8 seasons, it offered viewers an authentic look at some of America's toughest and messiest professions.
Dirty Jobs originally debuted in 2005, and for its original 8-year run, it showcased some of America's hardest and most dangerous work. In doing so, Dirty Jobs became one of the Discovery Channel's biggest hits of all time,
earning near universal appeal. Mike Rowe's approachable style and genuine respect for the workers made the series both entertaining and inspiring. Given this success, it seems baffling that the show would suddenly vanish from the air after just 8 seasons. While near a Seinfeld-length run is impressive for any series, especially a reality show, Dirty Jobs was canceled in 2012, leaving fans and industry watchers wondering why. Many assumed that if a show as lucrative as this was still drawing an audience, the Discovery Channel would keep it going indefinitely. The sudden cancellation felt abrupt, as though something beyond simple ratings was at play. It raised questions about the factors behind the decision, especially since the show had built a dedicated fan base over nearly a decade. Despite surviving multiple seasons and continually showcasing unique labor stories, Dirty Jobs wasn't immune to the pressures facing cable television at the time. Reporting from Forbes and other outlets noted that Discovery's primetime viewership was already in decline by 2011, losing nearly 30% over a decade. This shrinking audience inevitably put more pressure on popular shows to deliver fresh results or risk cancellation. Yet, these numbers alone don't tell the full story. There was more at stake in 2012 than just individual show ratings. That year marked a turning point for many cable networks, including Discovery, as they grappled with the growing dominance of streaming platforms. The traditional model of appointment viewing was shifting, and cable networks struggled to adapt quickly enough. Dirty Jobs, despite its popularity, became a casualty of these larger industry currents. In addition to Dirty Jobs, 2012 also saw the cancellation of other long-running Discovery favorites like American Chopper, signaling a broader reckoning within the network. Both shows had built loyal audiences, yet were ended simultaneously, suggesting a strategic reshuffling rather than isolated decisions. This mass cancellation hinted at uncertainty around how to navigate a changing television landscape. Part of the mystery lies in the timing. While Dirty Jobs remained beloved, Discovery's management was facing dwindling numbers and evolving viewer habits, creating a challenging environment for programming decisions. The cancellation was less about the quality or appeal of the show and more about how the network redefined its future amid shifting consumption patterns. Fans were left wondering if such a unique series could ever return. Mike Rowe himself described the cancellation as a permanent hiatus, a phrase industry insiders understood as the more polite way of saying canceled. He expressed how personal the show was to him and how difficult it was to imagine life without it. His reaction highlighted the emotional impact behind the business decision, underscoring a story that's much deeper than ratings charts. This sudden end launched questions that begged further investigation. What specific changes in viewer habits and industry strategy pushed Dirty Jobs off the air? Those broader forces are essential to understanding why even a hit show couldn't survive the era's upheaval. Changing television consumption habits would prove to be a critical factor reshaping network decisions and the fate of even the most successful programs. Changing TV habits impact ratings. By the early 20s, the way audiences watched television was undergoing a profound transformation driven largely by the emergence and rapid growth of streaming services. Platforms like Netflix and Hulu began to dominate how and when people consumed content, challenging cable networks' traditional control over prime-time viewership. The Discovery Channel was not immune to this sea change, facing the harsh reality that many loyal viewers were shifting away from scheduled programming. Streaming offered viewers the freedom to watch what they wanted, when they wanted, soon becoming the preferred choice for a growing segment of the population. This disrupted the appointment-style viewing that cable relied on, meaning shows like Dirty Jobs faced declining live audiences even if streaming numbers remained strong elsewhere. The difficulty for cable networks was translating this evolving behavior into sustainable ratings that advertisers wanted. The rise of streaming did more than change viewing habits. It altered the content pipeline and business models. Discovery and other networks had to compete not only for viewers, but also for fresh, original content that could thrive in both cable and streaming formats. This led to internal conflicts over which shows to keep or cancel, often at the expense of older, reliable brands like Dirty Jobs. The challenges Discovery faced in the early 2010s were symptomatic of the entire cable industry's struggle to adapt. Many popular shows, despite fan loyalty, were canceled during this period because networks were uncertain how to maintain profitability amid fragmented audiences. Discovery's decision-makers grappled with balancing legacy hits against an uncertain future driven by digital platforms. Reports from Forbes in 2011 and subsequent years revealed that Discovery's prime-time viewership had slipped to roughly 1 million viewers, a significant drop from previous highs. This decline reinforced the urgency to rethink their programming strategy, further jeopardizing established favorites. Yet the downward trend was less about content quality and more about the changing media ecosystem. In 2020, Discovery launched its own streaming service, Discovery Plus, seeking to regain ground lost to competitors. However, this move created new pressures, including the need for a constant supply of fresh, binge-worthy content tailored for streaming audiences. While this breathed new life into the network, it also forced difficult trade-offs. Some classics were brought back, but only on the new platform, shifting away from traditional cable. The network's difficulties went beyond changing viewer habits, revealing deeper internal challenges in management and strategy. Discovery Channel's struggles in 2012. In 2012, the Discovery Channel was navigating a period of uncertainty marked by declining ratings and strategic turmoil. The cancellation of flagship shows like Dirty Jobs and American Chopper reflected more than individual program failures. It signaled a network struggling to redefine itself amid shifting market conditions. These changes were not sudden, but built up over several years as Discovery tried to find a foothold in a dramatically altered television landscape. By 2014, 2 years after Dirty Jobs went off air, Discovery Communications, the parent company, still wrestled with adapting to streaming competition and evolving viewer expectations. Leadership changes were brought in to address these challenges, showing that the network recognized the need for a new direction. This managerial shakeup marked a turning point in how Discovery approached content creation and distribution. The network's decisions reflected a broader industry pattern where legacy media tried to balance traditional cable audiences with the growing dominance of on-demand platforms. Canceling well-established shows was a painful but necessary step in trying to keep pace with market demand for fresh, digital-friendly content. This transition period was crucial to Discovery's long-term survival, but came at the cost of beloved series. Classic Discovery hits like Roadshow were also cut during this reshuffling, indicating a widespread pruning of the old guard rather than isolated cancellations. The company was essentially rebuilding its identity, looking to position itself as a modern media provider rather than just a cable channel. This involved investing heavily in digital platforms and a wider variety of programming. During this tumultuous time, Discovery's overall viewer numbers finally began to rebound by 2016. According to the New York Times, the network's shifts in management and content strategy restored some growth in ratings and audience engagement, proving the pivot was working. However, this success was achieved after the painful loss of fan-favorite shows. The struggles of 2012 highlight how the cancellation of Dirty Jobs was not just about that show or its single season's performance. It was part of a complicated reorganization at Discovery, influenced by market forces and corporate choices that extended beyond individual programming. Understanding this context reveals that Dirty Jobs' disappearance had deeper roots than typical cancellation reasons.
At first then, it may seem a bit baffling why a TV show that was as successful as Dirty Jobs in its first run would be kicked to the curb after only 8 seasons, since the series seemed to be doing so well.
This period also sowed the seeds for future revivals, as Discovery's attempts to adapt eventually allowed for the return of legacy shows on new streaming platforms. The network's growing digital presence paved the way for reintroducing series to loyal fans via different formats, breaking from old broadcast norms. Discovery's challenges in 2012 were emblematic of a media giant reinventing itself, with tough decisions that reshaped the television landscape and opened doors to new opportunities for shows once thought gone forever. The story of Mike Rowe's reaction adds a personal layer to this complex network saga, revealing the human side of cancellation. Mike Rowe's reaction to cancellation. When Mike Rowe learned that Dirty Jobs was entering what he called a permanent hiatus, the news hit him hard. For him, the show was more than just a job. It was a personal mission to highlight and honor hardworking Americans. He candidly shared the emotional impact, admitting it took weeks to fully process the loss. His words conveyed not only disappointment, but a deep connection to the stories, people, and challenges that defined the series. Rowe's response revealed a rare vulnerability in an industry often focused solely on ratings and numbers. He wrote about how difficult it was to imagine a future without navigating toxic sewage systems, handling venomous snakes, or engaging in the quirky animal husbandry episodes that fans loved. His affection for the show's sense of adventure and grit was clear, demonstrating that Dirty Jobs wasn't just another production, but a passion project.
And there was nothing to stamp on Dirty Jobs. It wasn't a show. It was the chronicling of a day on a farm, in a tilapia pond, on a bridge. There was no casting, there was no pre-production, there was certainly no script, and there was no second take.
Although it was a setback, Rowe still voiced his cautious optimism about the future. He even pointed towards new projects, maybe not as dirty or disorganized, but just as thrilling in their own way. His positive outlook was a sign of a strong spirit and also of the gratitude that he felt for the show's past, the chances it had given him. The idea of loss coexisting with hope made his response very attractive and very human. Also, Mike Rowe recognized that the report of cancellation was a very painful and complicated issue, particularly because it had been almost 10 years since the show first went on air. For them, it felt like a sudden and shocking end, and not only to viewers, but also to the people working behind the scenes and practically dedicating their lives to the project. His candidness came across as very relatable to many fans who saw the show as a case of a certain tenacious spirit being honored regardless of entertainment. During the whole time, Rowe kept in touch with his audience, sending them his thoughts and updates, and that kept the Dirty Jobs spirit alive even though there were no new episodes. His honesty helped foster a very committed fan base that was always ready to see the show come back. It also highlighted the significant contribution of the audience in determining the direction of the show. The strong link between the host and the audience was to become vital in the coming years. Rowe found himself receiving hundreds of letters and social media messages asking for him to revive the show. The continuous demand was a clear indication that the show's effect was still there even though it was officially canceled. In expressing his gratitude and excitement for what was next, Rowe reminded everyone that while Dirty Jobs had paused, the stories of America's hard-working citizens were far from over. His reaction became a bridge between the past and a hopeful future. The heartfelt response of the show's creator and star illuminated that the cancellation was not just a business decision, but a moment charged with emotion and meaning. From this personal chapter, the story of Dirty Jobs was far from finished. The evolving media landscape, however, held new possibilities, especially with the rise of streaming platforms, and these would shape the next phase of Dirty Jobs' journey. The role of streaming in revival. As streaming services rose to prominence, they became a lifeline for shows like Dirty Jobs that had vanished from traditional cable screens. When Discovery launched Discovery Plus in 2020, it marked a strategic pivot toward digital content delivery. This new platform sought to capture fragmented audiences and offer a vast library that included classic fan favorites. For Dirty Jobs, this was the first step toward a comeback. The streaming environment demanded fresh programming, but also rewarded nostalgic hits with a new audience base. By making episodes available online, Discovery Plus exposed Dirty Jobs to younger viewers and those who preferred on-demand access. The reboot became less about primetime slots and more about accessibility and fan engagement across devices. This shift breathed new life into the show's legacy. Importantly, streaming platforms provided the network with data-driven insights about viewer preferences that traditional ratings couldn't capture as precisely. Discovery could see firsthand how many fans continued to watch Dirty Jobs, bolstering the case for a revival. This shift empowered content creators and executives to rethink what shows merited new seasons outside the conventional broadcast model. Fan enthusiasm played a crucial role in this revival story. Mike Rowe frequently mentioned the hundreds of letters and messages from loyal viewers urging the show's return. Their voices fueled the momentum, proving that demand for Dirty Jobs transcended its initial cable run. Streaming platforms became the perfect channel to respond to this groundswell. In the month of January, in the year 2022, almost 10 years after the end of the series, Dirty Jobs came back for its 9th season, which was simultaneously shown on the Discovery Channel and on the net. The new presentation not only brought a bunch of new hard-working Americans, but also revived people's interest in the show's characteristic combination of dirt and laughter. It then furthered the cause of everyday work appreciation, but this time with contemporary tendencies in viewing. The premiere of the 10th season was set for the month of December in the year 2022, which made it clear that the revival was not a fleeting moment, but rather a thorough reboot. Such a long-term renewal was a demonstration of the show's versatility, enabling it to keep up with the media and its changing tastes, while not letting go of the features that made it unique. Moreover, streaming contributed to the creative liberty that was not always the case with the conventional cable schedules. This situation allowed Rowe and Discovery to try out different formats and go deeper into the stories that grabbed the attention of the current viewers. The use of the platform as a medium also came with the advantage of overcoming the barrier of distinguishing between old and new media, thus taking Dirty Jobs' audience beyond the very first limits. Mike Rowe's story of cancellation and comeback reminds us how resilience and shifting technologies can rewrite the fate of a show and its audience. The comeback and future of Dirty Jobs. After nearly a decade in television limbo, Dirty Jobs made a triumphant return in January 2022, reaffirming its place as a celebration of America's hard-working spirit. The 9th season introduced a new batch of characters, everyday Americans not afraid to get their hands dirty, embodying the same gritty charm that made the original series a hit. This revival was more than a nostalgic trip. It was a clear sign the show could evolve while staying true to its roots. Fans old and new embraced the familiar blend of humor, danger, and respect for labor. The 10th season, set to premiere in December 2022, reinforced the show's renewed momentum. Unlike its previous run, which was solely on cable, the series now streams simultaneously on the Discovery Channel and Discovery Plus, reaching wider audiences across different viewing habits. This hybrid approach fully recognized the media landscape's shift and optimized access without sacrificing the original broadcast experience. It also allowed the show to stay relevant and accessible to a generation raised on streaming platforms. Mike Rowe himself said that the primary reason for the show to get back on air was the demand from the fans. He was writing back and forth with fans for years, and sometimes even hundreds of letters were coming to him with the same request to bring back the Dirty Jobs show, which indicated a strong bond between the host and the audience. That grassroots backing was a strong point in the negotiations with Discovery, and also illustrated that the very passionate fan communities have a power that is recognized by the media. Their faith helped and revived a series that was already considered dead. On the other hand, the producers' renewal of the show also meant more creative possibilities opening up. The old constraints of cable schedules no longer applied to the producers. They had the liberty to think about new storylines and the vast and varied American workforce for more in-depth and vivid portrayals. The show sprang up in the contemporary atmosphere without losing the hands-on and often messy work that was at its core. Such a move was a win-win for the show, as they could cater to a new generation of viewers while continuing with the old ones and not letting the past hold them back. The series' success on streaming showed that even the older fans who still preferred watching on traditional TV had accepted digital platforms. In the case of younger viewers who might have never seen the original run, they got to know the series for the first time, which was an indication of the show's eternal charm. Dirty Jobs made the connection of different generations over seamless respect for honest labor, proving once again that good storytelling knows no age or format limits. Dirty Jobs' cancellation and comeback reveal a story about change, resilience, and connection. From cable screens to streaming platforms, the show's journey proves that true grit and heartfelt storytelling never go out of style. If you're inspired by the hard work behind the scenes, make sure to like and subscribe for more fascinating stories like this. The real dirt is always worth digging into.